Hey everyone, it's Jamie here, Lovepark, and today I'm going to be going through a little bit of how I did my official remix for Louis Futon's David Blaine. This was a really cool opportunity for me because Louis Futon is one of my favorite artists, someone who really inspires me, so it was a really crazy opportunity to be able to remix one of his songs. Thank you, Louis Futon, for making this happen. And by the way, I'm releasing 2 new songs called Settle and Lose You on July 12th. They may already be out depending on when you are watching this video. I think you're really going to like them if you like this one. They mark kind of a new era for me of releasing original music, so I'm really excited for you guys to hear them, and I think they're kind of like the best things I've ever made, so I'm really excited about that. I will drop a link in the description box if you want to go stream them, or if you're watching this before they're out, I'll also drop a pre-save link there for you. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the David Blaine remix. I did this remix about a year ago now, which is kind of insane to me. I'm still really proud of it and how it turned out, and just the fact that I got to remix a song from one of my favorite producers ever, Louis Futon. So thank you, Louis Futon, for making this happen. This was an awesome opportunity, and yeah, if you haven't heard it yet, I'll play a bit of the second drop. So yeah, let's get into the breakdown. So the first thing I do with remixes is I drag in the acapella, and for this one I really like the vocal and the way Louis Futon processed it. Just threw on a compressor to compress some of the like artifacts I got when I time stretched it, and an EQ just to make sure there was no kind of low end stuff going on where I didn't want it to. So the original song is this up-tempo D&B kind of vibe, and I thought it would be cool if I made my remix in kind of a halftime groove. So to establish that, the first thing I did with this was drag in the vocal and then put in this little rim shot. Stacking on my table. Oh. Yeah, so that kind of established the direction I wanted to go with the remix, and from there I kind of just stacked on top of this rim shot. We have this little kick coming in, just hitting on the first beat. Stacking on my table. Some like ambiance stuff. Some of those risers. And then in this first section we just pretty much have the chords playing. This is a patch that I recreate a lot for a lot of my songs. I really like this kind of warm chord sounds. I basically went in Serum, did a saw wave with like 5 unison, some detune, put this weird wavetable and octave up on oscillator B, and did some FM onto oscillator A, did some distortion in the effects section. The distortion sounds really good in Serum effects, and when you use it in pre-mode, it also sounds really great, and you can shape the sound before it goes into the distortion, which is really nice. That patch is pretty much that Serum patch, with a bunch of stuff on after it, including like an erosion to get kind of the noisy sound of vinyl, a compressor, this kilohertz Haas effect, which makes it super wide, then some EQing to get rid of some of those weird low mids and lows, and then 2 auto filters that automate based on where we are in the song. On my table. So yeah, other than that, we also have some little ambiance effects coming in here, including these little granular shots that I found in one of Oversampled's packs, which I think I used a ton on this because I had just gotten a couple of the Oversampled packs and I was like, whoa, these are insane. You can barely hear these things, but they do make a difference when you're listening to the song. They kind of help glue everything. So I have that little pluck, which was, I think, a little pluck sample that I took from one of my friend's sample packs, and I just processed it, put a bunch of distortion on it, like a phone EQ, reverb, and then compressed it so that it would hit with the snare and sound really nice. So yeah, other than that, we have this really nice drum groove playing. Almost forgot that it was 8. With these kicks coming in every couple bars on the 1. In the CVS, and I give the clerk a fake smile. And then I have this hand cymbal, which has become kind of a staple of my production if you've listened to any of my other music. So yeah, I really like the way that sounds, and throughout this section I have the cutoff on these chords automating to open and then close, so there's a lot of movement going on. Fake smile. So you can hear that there, and you can see it as well if you look at the frequency on the auto filter there. And then we have this super open section, and basically what I did for that is I had the chords playing, and then I used some ambiance as well to kind of fill out the airy space that it needed. And all this stuff just has some processing. I do a lot of it as I go along, especially with EQ, and so to fit this in, I dropped some of the mids, took out the lows, and it sounded really nice on top of the chords. I just need a hit, little bit of your fire. Oh, and throughout the beginning of the song as well, and throughout the entire song, there are these little granular samples that I made by throwing the original acapella of the song into Quanta, and then I bounced out kind of the results I got after like playing with the file position and created these little chops and things that I thought sounded good to kind of put in the middle of the gaps when there was nothing else playing. Take me on a small coming to a stop when. So these have a lot of compression on them, getting rid of some mids and lows, and OTT, and then an auto filter to kind of help them rise and fall. So yeah, in this part, I basically added the drum groove similar to what it would be in the drop. I have this kick going. And then I have this really nice clap from the oversampled pack, which I really loved. I just did some EQing on it and some compression, and it sounded perfect. And we get to the first drop, which sounds like this. So for this drop, and for this remix in general, I wanted to do the kind of granular kind of side of things. And so I decided to throw, I think this time it was the acapella and the chords maybe, or it was just the acapella into Quanta. And I decided to record myself messing with some of the controls on Quanta and then freeze and flatten it out so that I could have something to chop up and create a melody with. So yeah, without anything on these chops, they sound like this. So a lot weaker, less high end. In terms of processing, I did a bunch of compression. I really love the Ableton compressor. EQ8, doing some resonance control and low end control, OTT, an auto filter for coming out of the drop, a frequency shifter. I'm not sure if this actually did anything, but if it did, it would be just to automate little pitch bends and things like that. More EQ and more EQ at the end. So yeah, altogether that sounds like this over the drop. Other than that chop, I have the chords playing here, which is another version of the same patch that I used in the intro. Way more high end, but the same kind of like vinyl and erosion combo that I did on the first version of those chords. Then I have these vocal effects, and then the other big part that carries this drop are the 808s, and that's basically just this low layer, which has some basic normal processing on it, compression, low cut, saturation, and then a low cut again, because this makes no sense because I could have just saturated it and then cut the lows, but for whatever reason, I did it this way. And then I have this top layer that was a serum patch that I messed with. I put it through Trash, Ozone Imager to make it wider, a compressor, a saturator, and an EQ8. It sounds kind of like that, and then together they have that really nice sound. And then in terms of drums, the kick is made up of 3 parts. It's like this original part, which is the one that plays in the verses, except with like a low pass filter on it. So it's just the lows, and then a version of it that's high passed and literally cranked to the max possible saturation with Ableton Saturator. And then if you put like a stomp behind it as well, it sounds really, really nice. And then I just have some hi-hats going on. I think a big point with stuff like this is trial and error happens, and you're not going to make something that sounds perfect on the first try. So I had a lot of different tracks of experimentation before I like figured out how much to strip back and what kind of worked with this song. So I ended up settling with that drum groove. Got some effects, some reverbed out snares coming in there, just a lot of little ear candy. And little detail to kind of make everything blend together and kind of keep things interesting. So after that, we go into this section. Dead of winter with you, feels like a summer day. which sounds really nice coming out of that first drop. We have the drop drum groove also still going, and then the vocal is playing. And in this section, I wanted it to be super airy, so I added little embellishments, little ambiance things like this guy. And then these little vocal click samples, which I thought were really cool. Which are just these little vocal chops with a lot of delay on them. So after that, we go into this section, which is basically a similar idea. It has the chords playing this new chord progression that I really like. And then I also added this little lead line that I wanted to sound really 8-bit and like arcadey. And then we have another area where everything cuts out. The only outlier. And then we come in with the pre-chorus again, and the chords are like fully filtered out right now, but they start to come in over time, and you can start to hear them, which I thought really brought up the energy. I don't know how you do it, make them disappear like David BLAINE. So after this part, which is the same as the first build pretty much, we have the second drop, which is I think my favorite part of this song. Disappear like David BLAINE. I basically created this sample that I wanted to put into a granulator to make kind of bigger sounding chops. So I took different instruments and weird samples and just kind of created this pad section. And that also had some choir patches from Omnisphere and some more synth patches from Omnisphere. I don't have my drive that has Omnisphere on it right now, so I can't play those for you. And then I put that into Quanta to create a much thicker sounding like pluck or granular sound for this drop. And so when I started messing with Quanta, it ended up sounding like this. And then I put an auto pan on it. Cut it even more, and then I started chopping it up. With stuff like this, it can get really unruly, so there's a lot of processing going on. Additionally, with this layer, I wanted to have like an octave higher version, which is mostly high-end, very harshly EQ'd, kind of hurts when you're listening to it by itself, but then when it's like limited with everything else, sounds pretty good. The other cool thing about this drop is there's a new 808 layer that comes in, which is this layer. Really love this layer. It's another version of one of the same top layers I used in the first drop, but it's run through a bunch of different stuff. Trash to imager, compressor, saturator, and EQ, and it ends up sounding like this. And then with all three 808 layers now, they sound like this, which I really, really liked. And I thought with the groove I had established with the drums and also the chops now, it sounded really, really nice. So yeah, after this part of the drop, we have some fills going on, a lot of drum stuff going on, but it's stuff that I pretty much covered in the first drop. And then we go into this post-drop section, which is pretty much the same idea, the drop drums with the chords by themselves. And then we eventually get to this point, which is the ending of the song. And what that is basically I took this kind of final chord and I ran it through a plugin that my friend Atura told me about. Thank you, Atura. This plugin is really cool. But this is Digitalis, and it can do a lot of really cool signal degrading stuff. You can basically draw in a data loss pattern, which is like really, really cool in my opinion. So I drew in this like scribble, and it created this weird watery texture, and then I automated a low pass filter on that and the decimate module in this little corruption section, and had it kind of get even more distorted and then go down in a low pass filter. And yeah, I think that's most of the song. There are a lot of little details in this. It's probably one of the larger projects I've worked on, just because it's like 130, 129 tracks. A lot of it is sound design, a lot of it is stuff that is frozen and flattened and chopped up and things like that. And there are a lot of little ear candy things, and that's a lot of what I was going for with this. I wanted to really kind of push myself in terms of production. And I think I'm really proud of it still. It was a year ago, which is kind of crazy. And I think this was a big marker for me in terms of getting where I wanted to be with production and learning a lot more technical sound design stuff. So I'm really proud of it, and I think it's really well carrying into the music I'm making now. Yeah, so that's kind of it for this song. It was a really amazing opportunity to get to remix this and release it officially. Really, really cool. Louis Futon is one of my favorite artists, so yeah, of course this was an awesome opportunity. So yeah, again, I'm releasing 2 new songs on July 12th. They might already be out if you're watching this video later than that. They're called Settle and Lose You, 2 of my favorite things that I've made thus far. I think you guys are really gonna like them, and I will drop a streaming link in the description if you want to go stream those, or I will drop a pre-save if they haven't come out yet, if you're watching this in like the first week that it's up. So yeah, definitely go stream those. If you want breakdowns for those as well, I'm happy to like break down some stuff I did in those. But yeah, thank you so much to Louis Futon for making this official remix happen. And let me know if you guys have any questions about anything I went over or didn't go over in the comments. And if you want to see anything else from me, let me know, because I am very down to do some more like content like this. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you later.
When my day sucks, you're the only outlier. When we're wasting time together, all my problems fade away.